Hi, I'm Michelle Begue with a look at what's happening in Latin America now. But first, our news trivia. Which Latin American country is reinventing a classic children's book by casting the first black actor as the title role? We'll have the answer later. In Peru, opponents of President Pedro Castillo protested this week outside of the presidential palace while a mission from the Organization of American States arrived in the country to analyze the current political crisis. President Castillo is facing 6 open investigations into alleged corruption. Castillo claims that the private sector and some businessmen are trying to depose him from office. President Nicolás Maduro of Venezuela announced the country has only earned $3.5 billion in oil revenues this 2022. He points out that this is not even 10% of the $56 billion collected 5 years ago. Maduro blames the low numbers to the U.S. sanctions against his government. But some experts say the oil industry was suffering before due to mismanagement, corruption, and the poor maintenance of Venezuelan facilities. Mexico inaugurated its original festival, which celebrates Mexican textile art made by its indigenous communities. Designers and artists held a fashion show for the opening of the festival. The first edition of the festival was held in 2021, and the mission is to fight what Mexico calls plagiarism of indigenous designs and textiles by foreign clothing brands. The artists call for a more equitable fashion industry with respect towards the intellectual work and creativity of the indigenous people. And let's go to my colleague Joel Richards in Argentina, who is following the commemoration of Begue de Bonafini, one of the country's most important human rights leaders who passed away at the age of 93.
Begue de Bonafini was one of the co-founders of the Argentine human rights group the Mothers of the Plaza de Mayo, an organisation that gained international recognition for their struggle for justice. Rights groups in Argentina estimate 30,000 people were disappeared or illegally detained during the dictatorship. De Bonafini herself lost her 2 sons. As one of the leaders of the rights group, De Bonafini became a somewhat controversial figure with strident political views, and her opponents point to a corruption scandal involving the foundation that she headed. Argentina is one of the few countries in the world to have put members of the military on trial for crimes against humanity in a civilian court, and human rights groups such as the Mothers de la Plaza de Mayo and women such as Begue de Bonafini are part of the reason that was possible.
Now let's check out the stories we're following for next week. In Colombia, we are following the peace negotiations between the government and the largest rebel group left in Latin America. The National Liberation Army, better known as the ELN, is set to begin talks with the government soon. But this week, the government made headlines with its pick on who will sit at the negotiating table. Left-wing President Gustavo Petro invited one of his most outspoken critics to be part of the negotiations. José Félix Laforí, president of the powerful Ranchers Union, said yes to the invitation in the name of peace. And now the answer to our news trivia. The answer is B. Sao Paulo is hosting the first production of The Little Prince to cast a black actor in the title role. As readers may know, the beloved children's book illustrated the main character as a boy with golden hair. But this groundbreaking new musical stage production has its title character with a beautiful afro. The Brazilian actor 9-year-old Levi Asaf is getting great reviews. That's it for this week. We'll see you again soon on Latin America Now.